Oh my God, what is up, everybody? And welcome to the Chat Rock Chatbox, yeah! Today is a day that many of us, by us I mean me, hoped would never come, and yet here we are. Today is the first episode, the first installment of what we here at the Hard Rock Lunchbox are calling CHATastrophe 2021. CHATastrophe is definitely a word that looks better written than it does being said, but I'm going with CHATastrophe because that's honestly what I expect, and we're all about truth and advertising here at the Lunchbox. So if you don't know what that is, you haven't been listening to the past couple shows, and that's cool. I can forgive you for that, I suppose. But basically what happened is over the course of like the past several months. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Before I even get to the chat, as if I need to get to the chat. I'm sure the chat is going to do just fine on its own. But I do want to take a moment to point out, because I'm trying to get better at this, a new episode of the Top 20 is out today on Strangerhood TV. There is generally a two-week delay on those shows, so it'll be the opening of the Hard Rock Lunchbox from 2 weeks ago. I honestly couldn't even tell you what it was. I'm really working on this. Thursday mornings are really busy for me because I'm trying to get stuff settled so I can basically take 2 hours off in the middle of the afternoon to do the box. So I didn't even look, but I'll post it later today. And if you could stop by and watch it, if you want. Like if you heard it, like there's really no reason to go back and check it out. Like it's just facial expressions and like hand movements and stuff like this. And nobody needs any of that, especially at this weight, in my opinion. But it is out. It's on Strangerhood TV. If you want to be one of the 14 people that gives it a view this week, that would be great. If not, that's cool too. And something. Anyway, I'm trying to do a better job of that. Check that out. And check out all the great programming on Strangerhood TV as well. Bacon is My Podcast has a new episode out every Monday, so check that out. I am a week behind, so I did not get to... No, it's not true. I started it, and they were talking about Dr. Pepper cream soda, which I have a lot and also nothing to say about because I'm Team Dr. Pepper all the way. Occasionally Mr. Pibb, but cream soda can suck a bag of dicks, and I think that is something we can all... Oh, thank you. The chat, the top 20 is all about the somebodyelsewilldoit.org.net.com. I highly recommend that one because I was hella pissed off. So if you want to see what's going on in the world of Someone Else Will Do It, check out the top 20 on Strangerhood TV. Yeah, Bacon is My Passion has their Bacon is My Podcast episode that comes out every Monday. Jamming with a Stranger, the last episode, which is Roundabout. It was really good. Super surprising. It did force me into a yes sort of rabbit hole on Spotify that I enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you, Mr. Waterbury, for that. Frank, I think, has something else up there now, too. I honestly, and this is not a dig at Frank, I'm having trouble keeping track of which project he's on at any given time, but I did see that he posted something else, and go check that out for all things Frank. You can check that out at Strangerhood TV. StrangerhoodTV.com gets you right there, unless of course you're me, and then you got to go through YouTube and over to Craving Strange, but it'll get you there. And that takes care of the plugs. The top 20, of course, brought to you by the Hard Rock Lunchbox, which is brought to you, of course, by the top 20. All right, thank you. See, the chat is already out of line. We're not going to be taking Dr. Pepper's name in vain here, or I will turn this car right around. Yeah. So, I did, okay. So basically, in CHATastrophe, or Chatlapalooza, all that other stuff, basically it's a chat takeover of the box. We've seen all this, right? When bands take over Instagram, or blah, 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 and all that other stuff. Well, the chat is taking over the box. But, I just want to point it out, this is definitely not like those other things, because this, instead of being about promotion and stuff for the Hard Rock Lunchbox, this is a lesson in acquiescence, and I think that makes the difference. So like I said, if you didn't know this was coming, you haven't really been paying attention the past couple weeks, that's fine. I'll catch you up right here. Basically, what I've noticed over the past 6 months is there has been a trend for the chat to, let's say they've entered somewhere between their toddler years and late teenage years. Anybody that has kids in either of those groups will know what I'm talking about. They become petulant, unreasonable, demanding of attention, and definitely uppity as F. All great characteristics. All great characteristics for a child. Which the chat, what can I say? It's not necessarily my child, but I've certainly adopted. I'm at least its legal guardian for 2 hours a week. So if the chat needed to go, if the chat needed to go on a field trip at school, I could probably sign it. I'm not necessarily sure. I could probably sign for their report cards with a couple of C's and a D. I could probably sign that too. I don't know that I could co-sign a loan. I don't know that I'm a legal guardian. I don't know what the ruling is, but I'm definitely kind of the guardian for the chat. So, but the chat is going through a phase, a rebellious phase, an uppity phase, and they have basically been running their own show for the past few months. And it has gotten so bad that not only do they run the show, their own show during my show, they are now running their own show during other people's shows. So it's like, you remember like all those Friends crossovers? Like that's this, but with the chat. Right? That's basically what's happening. The chat is showing up on other things, interviews, live streams, and all those stuff, and they're just holding court. Which to me, I think, honestly, is just awesome. So, I'm all for it. But, as it comes and pertains to acquiescence, instead of just having something to promote, because the chat actually doesn't have anything to promote. The chat does not have a new record out. The chat does not have merch that I'm aware of, although now that I've said that, I'm sure somebody will be designing chat merch, and it will easily outsell every single band I play here on the box, because even I will buy one. They don't have a new book out. There's no new single, that kind of thing. So there's nothing to promote. So why let them take over? It's about acquiescence. I have been a parent for a very long time. I have parented kids and I have parented bands. I don't necessarily know which one is harder. It's probably bands, mainly because you get less out of it. At least with kids, you end up with like the occasional tie or cufflink, and bands are really just about depression, anxiety, angst, and bad feelings, right? Because that's kind of what that is. Yeah, the chat already likes the merch idea. Yeah, here. Okay, good. We can expect. I cannot wait. Like it's gonna be, it's gonna be a subset. It's absolutely going to outsell anything that any band does. It's gonna be like those Bernie shirts, you know, with the Bernie meme that he sold. Anyway. So about acquiescence, it's because honestly, the chat has earned it. Chat shows up in many forms, but it shows up every single week, and pretty much any single time the chat is required to make things just a little bit better. And I spent, I think it was last week, just speaking almost ad nauseum about my gratitude for that and my acknowledgement that these moments in time do come and go, and it's important to acknowledge them. So I'm acknowledging it. But it actually, this whole idea of this CHATastrophe, this Chatapalooza, this chat takeover of the box really started as an offhanded bad idea. Just like all great things, it started with a bad idea, and I have an example for you. So, I don't know how many people are fans of The Daily Show. The Daily Show is now hosted by Trevor Noah, but for years it was hosted by Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is actually one of my favorite comedians of all time, so when he took over, I started watching it. I mean, I feel like dinosaurs were still here when that happened, but nonetheless, that's how long I've been watching the Jon Stewart Show. And I will say, much like most shows that like kind of get to their freshman, sophomore year, like it really hit its stride several years back with some of the correspondence that they had. Not only did they have like Moraka and Vance DeGeneres, but they had two particular I don't even know what to call them. I mean, I guess they were cast members. I mean, I don't even know. But they had Steve Carell, who you might have heard of, and Stephen Colbert, who you might have heard of. So Steve Carell probably needs no introduction other than he's Michael Scott from The Office, but he started before The Daily Show, but he got his big stuff on The Daily Show and was absolutely fantastic. And while he was on there doing that, one of his colleagues was also Stephen Colbert. Now, Stephen Colbert spells his name Colbert. The T is silent. I guess it's French. I'm not entirely sure. But he used to do a segment called The Colbert Report, because both T's were silent, so it was the Colbert Report. And he used to it was just this segment where he would basically act like Bill O'Reilly. If you don't know who Bill O'Reilly is, you can look him up. He would act like Bill O'Reilly, and he would just do like outlandishly ridiculous top of the news stories. And it was just brilliant. It was so funny. I mean, he also has this thing against bears, and I'll never forget, he did one story where he was talking about Winnie the Pooh, and he comes back into frame. He's like, I don't know what a poo is, but it looks an awful lot like a bear. And he just kind of went on from that. So this was going on for like maybe a year or two. And I'm getting to the point, if you could just bear with me a minute. The greatest part about that whole thing is a year or two into this, Jon Stewart, they come back to him in frame, and he's like doing the regular Daily Show. He's like, hey, you know that segment we're doing, the Colbert Report? He's like, yeah, the network bought it. And he ended up Stephen Colbert left the Daily Show to host an actual show called The Colbert Report, which was on at 11:30 on weeknights right after The Daily Show, and that, of course, led him to The Late Show and all that other stuff. But I got to tell you, it was one of the funniest shows I'd ever seen, and it literally started as an idea, almost a bad idea, like a joke idea on The Daily Show. So what does that mean to us? All right, I'll lay it out for you. Basically, in a nutshell, I stupidly said it would be funny to see the chat take over an episode of the Hard Rock Lunchbox. Seems funny and harmless, right? Yeah, but they bought it. The chat went into it 110%, just like the chat does absolutely everything else. And over the past week or so, they have submitted talking points. They have submitted music. They have submitted bumper requests. They actually submitted the talking point for the top 20, which I will actually get to mid-show. So don't fret about that. But it does involve music. It does involve copyright music. So I can't do that over the top 20, otherwise I wouldn't have a top 20 for Strangerhood TV. And of course, Strangerhood TV is where you find the top 20, brought to you by the Hard Rock Lunchbox, which is brought to you in part by the top 20. So, what are we going to do today? We're basically going to do anything and everything, or mostly everything, that the chat has asked for. To be fair, they sent in over 4 hours of music for a 2-hour show, which means A, my chat can't do math. No one's surprised there. My chat is greedy. Unreasonable demands. I don't think anybody is surprised there. And the chat cares little about rules, time, regulation, or anything else like that, or anything that anybody's going to do after 2 o'clock. No one is surprised there. Oh, I'm being corrected. It was 15 hours of music submitted for a 2-hour show. Yeah, we're not doing that. So what I did is I narrowed it down to about 40 plus songs. I can't even get to all that. So I'm actually going to randomize it on my phone and just see what that comes up with. I mean, there are some that I will definitely play because they're important or there were singular requests, and that's fine. I will do my best on the bumpers. Like I said, I will get to some of the talking points. I have a lot of stuff written down. I have a whole thing here that I spilled coffee on, by the way, that I will be dealing with later. And I actually had this whole other thing. I don't know if you can see this here on the radio. You can't, but on the top 20, you can see the top 20, of course, on Strangerhood TV, brought to you by the Hard Rock Lunchbox, which, of course, is brought to you in part by the top 20. And I was going to read this whole thing. Well, not read the whole thing. I was going to read different parts of it. And it was basically from Rolling Stone magazine from a few years ago. I'll just hold this up to the camera here so you guys can see it. It's basically about an article about the American cult and 5 spiritual groups that went too far. Now, how does that pertain to the chat? Well, it doesn't, and that's kind of what I was going to point out. But as I was reading the article, I was realizing that how much the chat is not a cult, because a cult responds to its leader and deals in information suppression and rules and blah, blah, blah struck down by the leadership. And I wanted to point out that if anyone is in a cult around here, it's me, because I keep cowering to the goddamn chat. But what I realized just in this moment, as I said it, is not only is the chat not a cult, the chat is a gang. Yeah. A really mean and nasty biker gang. I'm thinking northern Panhandle, Florida, maybe. Feels like I'm going to have to prepare new paperwork for next week to talk about the gang that is the chat gang, like a chain gang. But no one's in prison, and everyone's in trouble. We're all on death row here. Anyway, so I was going to read a whole lot. I had a whole lot of political stuff, but I think it's more important to just talk about what's going to happen today on the box now that the chat is in charge. And the honest answer is, I have no idea. I will say this. I don't necessarily pride myself on doing absolutely no work to prep for the Hard Rock Lunchbox. I consider the work that I do to be kind of work I would do anyway, listening to new music, just keeping up on current events, talking to my friends that are in bands, going to band practice myself. So, and then just, talking about those things. That's about the limit of the prep work that I do. But I will say, the chat as a whole put in a lot of work. They really did their due diligence, and I don't appreciate that at all, because that means I had to do all this other work. So I don't know when the next time we're gonna have a Chatapalooza or St. Chatrix Day or all that other nonsense that's been floated for names of this particular thing that we're doing today. But I do want to say I'm super happy to be part of it, and I'm really super happy that the chat even bothered to waste their time with something clearly as ridiculous as this. So thank you guys. Now, I don't know if it's just pandering. It's probably pandering. I did have to trim down a lot of the music based on the rules of internet radio. And there actually are. It's not entirely the Wild West. This is not the parlor of radio. It's literally like you cannot play more than 2 songs from the same artist in a 2-hour period. And you cannot play 2 songs from the same album in that 2-hour period. So I definitely cut a lot of that stuff out kind of right away. And I will try and get to as many of these songs as possible. Like I said, there is absolutely no way to get to all the music that I have here. But I did want to let you know that I did take into some consideration, hence the work I had to do for the box to make it actually legal for us to do this. But I will do my absolute best. So yes, I don't know if it was pandering that the chats recommend or requested, required, demanded. Demanded is the right word that I'm looking for. Demanded that I play some Rebel 9. So I figured I would kick things off the same way I kicked off Rebel 9 almost 10 years ago today. Jesus Christ.